The Premier has risen.
The member opposite accused me of cherry-picking data in rebuttal to an NDP member who claimed that she had lived through year after year after year of cuts in social services, quote unquote. I presented the data. It's all there. I invite the member to look at it. I'd be happy to table it. But from 1965, $46 million in social services, 1975, $251 million, 1985, $1.156 million, 1995, $1.456 million, 2005, $2.7 billion, 2015, $4.7 billion. You can slice or dice it any way you want. It doesn't matter. Spending on social services, spending on government generally in Alberta has grown year after year, with really one exception, 1993-94, faster than inflation, faster than population growth, at a higher per capita level than the rest of the country, and yet, the entire premise of the Alberta NDP is that this is some sort of dystopian society. Odd that the population has doubled through migration, the people who chose to come here. And she gave us the old NDP saw about the terrible dystopian society of the Ralph Klein's Alberta. I will remind her, Mr. Speaker, that Ralph Klein and his government were elected with a mandate to balance the budget by reducing spending, and then they were re-elected with a larger majority, and re-elected with a yet larger majority, and re-elected yet again, Mr. Speaker, because Albertans supported that program. Now, the point I really want to get to, and I didn't have a chance in my last intervention. They claim to speak for union members, but Mr. Speaker, Leger, one of the most reputed polling firms in the country, March 13th through 16th, did a national poll with 1,536 live caller respondents, a high-quality survey, which, by the way, the results of which on labour law are very similar to every public domain survey I have seen on these questions embedded in Bill 32. Do you support mandatory disclosure of detailed financial statements by unions? General population, 73%. Union members, 76% support that, Mr. Speaker. That's 3/4 of union members support that provision of this bill, which is opposed by the NDP. Should unions be able to use union dues to finance political advertisements and other political activities? 15% of the general population 18% of the general population agree, 15% of union members. 72% of Alberta union members disagree that unions should be able to use union dues to finance political ads and other activities. Bill 32 gives that 72% the power to have their say. You see, Mr. Speaker, they're not really democratic. That's why they're opposed to the secret ballot vote for union certification. Mr. Speaker, do you support allowing unions to block public buildings? Because there are some provisions here that common sense provisions with respect to picketing. 70% of union members oppose unions being able to block buildings. Mr. Speaker, the key provisions of this bill are not supported by a mere majority of union members in Alberta, but by supermajorities of union members in Alberta, including those who vote for the NDP. Maybe it's time that the NDP, instead of listening to the bosses, to their friend Gil McGowan, who yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the president of the Alberta Federation of Labour, who sits on the governing board of the NDP, trivialized the Holocaust of the Jewish people. And characterized this bill, which this government ran on, has a democratic mandate to implement and is supported by a supermajority of union members. He characterized it as a Nazi-like provision. Wow. Mr. Speaker, in a comment that was condemned by the Jewish Federation of Edmonton, by B'nai B'rith Canada, by the Simon Wiesenthal Centre for Holocaust Studies, but has not yet been condemned by that member from Edmonton, Glenora, or the NDP. Now, maybe I understand why, because she characterized conservatives as sewer rats. So maybe, Mr. Speaker, she doesn't have a problem with characterizing their opponents as vermin, or in this case, as Nazis. That, Mr. Speaker, the Looney Left has taken over there. And when it comes to referendums, by the way, Mr. Speaker, newsflash, we're also going to bring in citizen-initiated referendums, and watch out, because Albertans are going to be able to write their own referendums in the future.